So let me give you the state of play for tomorrow. At about 10 a.m. tomorrow, exit polling is going to be released. And that exit polling is going to be wrong. And I just need you to know the exit polling is going to be wrong. Why? Because the exit polling is released in 3 waves. The first wave is in the morning, and it is a compilation of early voting and early morning voting. The second wave at noon is the people who voted mid-morning to noon. The third wave is when the polls start to close in the evening after 5 o'clock. That exit polling you can pay attention to. Why? Why can't you pay attention to the early? So the early exit polling is unadjusted. It's raw data. You don't know when you get the early morning exit polling how many black people voted, how many white people, how many Hispanic people, how many men, how many women, how many old people, how many young people. You don't get any of the demographics. You just get the raw data. You don't get it for the midday exit polling either. And so you have this, if a whole lot of white people vote between 9 a.m. and noon, the exit polling you're going to see is going to make it look like Donald Trump is a crushing victory. If a bunch of women and black voters line up first thing in the morning, there's going to be this massive crushing victory for Harris. At the end of the day, what the exit pollsters do is they go back into the data for early voting and day of voting, and they look at how many Hispanic people actually voted, how many black people actually voted, how many men voted, how many women voted, how many Asians voted, how many people 65 and up voted, how many people 45 to 55 voted, how many people 55 to 65 voted, how many people 18 to 25 voted, how many 25 to 35 voted, how many 35 to 40. They make all these adjustments based on the actual numbers of people who voted and their demographic characteristics. How many college-educated people voted, how many people with a post-grad degree voted, how many people who are working class voted. And they take all of those numbers and apply them through computer modeling to the exit polling. And what you get is the most accurate sampling of Americans every 2 years. The exit polling in this country are the most accurate polls. They are polls relied on by everyone, and they are polls that never ask who you voted for. What the exit polling does is it asks why you're voting. What is your big issue? So if you get the adjusted exit polling in the evening, and it shows that 75% of women are voting for abortion rights, and women make up 60% of the vote, you know this is going to be a blowout for Kamala Harris. If, however, it shows the number one issue is the economy, and the majority of people voted believe the country is headed in the wrong direction right now, you know Donald Trump has won. But you can't believe the morning and the midday exits. You have to wait for the exit polling in the evening that has made the adjustments based on the demography of the people who are actually voting. You have to wait for the exits in the evening. Don't be fooled. So now, how does it work? Tomorrow at 7 p.m., Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vermont, and Virginia will have closed their polls. Now, Indiana and Kentucky close at 6 p.m., not 7 p.m. But they close, they're divided into 2 time zones. And so all of Indiana and all of Kentucky will be closed by 7 p.m. At 7:30, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia will close. North Carolina, swing state, 16 votes. Georgia, swing state at 7 p.m., 16 votes. At 8 o'clock p.m., Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Tennessee all close. And again, for Florida and Tennessee, they're split over time zones, so that's the latest poll closings. At 8:30, Arkansas closes, 6 electoral college votes. At 9 p.m. is the big one. Why? Because at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, South Dakota, Texas, Wisconsin, and Wyoming close. So at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, every one of the swing states except Nevada will be closed. And at 10 o'clock, Montana, Nevada, and Utah will close. At 11 p.m. Eastern Time, California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington close. At 12 a.m. Eastern Time on November 6th, Hawaii closes. At 1 a.m. Eastern Time, November 6th, Alaska closes, and that's the end. Most of the states will this time count the absentee and early vote before they count the day of vote. So you hear about the blue shift overnight, and Republicans have used this as a conspiracy theory, and it's not a conspiracy theory. I know many of you want to consider this some sort of wild conspiracy theory. Here's what actually happens. In most states in the past, the election day vote is counted first. And Republicans tend to turn out more on election day, and so it looks really good. And then once the election day vote is totaled, they start totaling the absentees, and they count the absentees, and they count the early vote. And Democrats vote early and absentee. And so you see this big shift to the Democrats. And Republicans, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. Look, they're adding votes to the Democrats. No, you idiots. It's that they counted the absentee and early vote after they counted election day. A lot of states, because of this conspiracy theory, are flipping it. And so you'll actually see the early and absentee before you see the day of. Wisconsin's not. Wisconsin's going to be a problem, just so you understand, and Pennsylvania too. It could take those a while to come in. But Georgia is going to have its early and absentees processed by 8 p.m. Florida is the gold standard. Florida does its elections better than anybody. Florida will close at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Florida actually closes at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, but the Panhandle is in the Central Time Zone, so it closes at 7 p.m. Central Time, which is 8 p.m. our time. Now, here's what's going to happen. And again, no conspiracy theory. Let's take the state of Vermont. The polls will close at 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the state of Vermont, and it will probably be the very first state called, and it will be called for Kamala Harris. In fact, when the polls close at 7 p.m., Wolf Blitzer may break in and say, we've got our first race to call, breaking news happening now, the state of Vermont and its 3 electoral college votes going to Kamala Harris. That's going to surprise not a single one of you. The surprise will be if Georgia, when the polls close at 7 p.m., comes in and they call it for Harris or Trump. If they call Georgia for Trump or Harris within the first 30 minutes after it closes, it's going to be a big night for one of those candidates. Some states you can call very quickly. For example, West Virginia will close at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to call that one for Donald Trump pretty quick. And the reason is because the pollsters use a very good model based on who voted. You've got to understand this. We know when the polls close, the modelers for calling the races, they look at key areas of states. So they're not looking, for example, let's take Rabun County, Georgia. I'm on the radio up there in Habersham County, actually south of there. The signal picks up into Rabun County. Rabun County is where my family and I, we love to go up there to the mountains to Lake Burton. I'd love a house on Lake Burton one day if I become a bajillionaire. Lake Rabun actually is a little more private nonetheless. I digress. That county is going to vote for Donald Trump. That county is a massively Republican county. And you know what? The exit pollsters are not there. They don't care about Rabun County. Why? Because it's not a swing county. The exit pollsters, they're in Cobb County. The exit pollsters, they're in Henry County. The exit pollsters are in Houston County. The exit pollsters are in parts of North Fulton County. The exit pollsters, in other words, are in the swing areas of the swing counties of the swing states. And if, based on their modeling, they see the vote coming in disproportionately for one candidate or the other in those areas, they can call a state very early. This isn't actually rocket science. You just have to have a good understanding of statistics, and most people don't, so they see conspiracy theories. It's like, for example, Fox News was able to call Arizona. To this day, Republicans are mad at Fox News for calling Arizona. They got it right. People forget they got it right. Why did they get it right? Because they had great statisticians, and they could model Arizona accurately enough to know that Donald Trump had lost Arizona in 2020. Same thing with Georgia and Biden. I suspect this time's going to be different. Based on what I'm seeing on the ground right now, I suspect they may be able to call Arizona. Arizona's going to close at 9 p.m. Eastern time. They may be able to call it pretty quick for Trump. But that's what you need to know for Election Day. Do not believe any exit polling data until after the sun goes down, because it's not going to be adjusted. And keep in mind the flow of the states as things get started after the polls close, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. All of the swing states except Nevada will be closed by 9 p.m. Eastern. Nevada closes at 10 p.m. Nevada is the least important of the swing states. Why? Because it's only got 6 electoral college votes. Arizona has 11, Wisconsin has 10, Michigan has 15, North Carolina and Georgia both have 16, and Pennsylvania has 19. Nevada is gravy. If it's a very tied race at 9 p.m., Nebraska's 2nd congressional district will matter. There are 5 congressional districts in Nevada. There are 5 electoral college votes. There are 3 congressional districts. The 2nd congressional district there is the Democratic district. Nebraska divides its electoral college votes up, 2 for the winner and then 1 for each congressional district. But this is going to be a pretty straightforward night. I just don't want you to get ahead of yourselves. I want you to subscribe, and we're going to push this out to everybody tomorrow just so you have it, so you'll be more informed than all your friends. If you text DATA to 33777 right now, text the word DATA to 33777, that top link back, subscribe to the show notes. Now, if you follow that link, you're going to get a discounted for a paid subscription, but you don't even need a paid subscription for the show notes. Why? For tomorrow, I've already done it. It's going to go out when the show starts at noon tomorrow, and it's going to give you, here's the Electoral College from 2020, here's the Electoral College shift for 2024, here are the undecided states, here are the poll closing times, here's when the exit polls roll out, here's when you can start believing the exit polls. Until then, don't believe anything. And I want you all to have that for tomorrow. It's very important to me that you have this so you're prepared for election night, and you'll be the most informed person in your circle of friends.